was about in this game, Jesus Christ, how they have different roles in life and how they were allotted to them according to authority figures and God and fate in their own lives. I think that a lot of us have interminglings with fate, and I heard it said just today that Jesus Christ was born to be a sacrificial lamb. So that isn't necessarily your role. I was watching Ender's Game yesterday, and it's a strange hodgepodge of sort of sociopathic tendencies with that seem to be seeping into society now and people now, with more fast twitch movements relying on intellectual capability and not heart, but still the humanity seemed to draw quite close into frame. And with that character specifically, his destiny was it was a balancing act where he had to save an entire race, but he ultimately destroyed it to save it afterwards. These authority figures that are above him in status and in rank, they basically said he's perfect because he does have these psychopathic, sociopathic tendencies, but ultimately he actually used that as um, a wooden board to push off of like a barrier, and he just used those tendencies and he saw it for what it was, that they wanted to have that be what he was and how he acted, so he exhibited that behavior. Ultimately it got him to where he didn't want to go, which was destroying an entire race, but he was actually able to, like Moses, harbor a child that would probably have the race increase in number manyfold more than a race that was under scrutiny by the human race, that were killing each other, that knew of their home planet and knew of what they wanted to do, hunker down at that planet. So they actually increased numbers. But anyway, the roles in this are quite interesting. It goes into the thing where God uses you for what you are and what you're not. And because we're human beings, we're not a lot of stuff. We have a lot. And we just have to go through the good as much as we can and use that. I have a poster on my wall that says, faith is acting in courage and trust. And your entire life was an act of faith, basically. And no matter the dark stuff you go through, I'm not trying to get too inspirational, but basically, we have been here because we trusted and we were quite courageous. It's another flip side to that coin that we're here because of sin. But a lot of this is not very free. It's binding. Ultimately, there is no ultimate point, but we do have our roles and destiny, and just live your life and try to find this thin line like Ender, where you actually do encroach, not like a cockroach, but like a human on humanity. You encroach on your humanity again, because this fast twitch thing I've seen, reactionary TikTok behavior that the wider public exhibits, that's worrying, antisocial behavior that's become the norm. Fast-paced mode of speaking where they actually gear you towards speaking fast twitch like you're playing a first-person shooter. This cognition will become more problematic, but the humanity, vestiges of humanity that's within every organism that's innate, does translate through. And whether you're meant to be a leader, meant to be a janitor, meant to change, and maybe realize the potential. Well, it's unlikely you'll be like Jesus Christ, basically. Try to find your own way. That's important. I'm relaxed a bit because, you know, I always thought that time didn't exist, but the more you listen to these fools, the more you think it could, which is a bad thing in a way. But you don't want to just dwindle in your room. You want to get out there, try and speak, reason to people. And part of my journey, as I was reflected back to me from watching Ender's Game yesterday, was basically the fact that they actually encouraged isolation in his life. They encouraged this thing. And a lot of us in this cocoon of isolation nowadays, you can definitely use that. You can definitely use that as a board to jump off of and rail against and impact, And that can create a mindset of someone that's dangerous, but it can also create a state of mind where you can actually think for yourself, which is rare, especially when you have a lot of consumption and you don't know what to do with it. So basically, just try to do things in an unusual way sometimes. I heard it said again that basically you get weird by yourself, and that is the case. But just yesterday, just to prove that point that I am weird, is basically the fact that my imagination has become quite rampant. I think about rearranging my skull and sort of working with the fascia of my body to create more comfortability, because I find that the constraints in society and on the job with other people, because they are in this mindset that seeps into you, and because of neural plasticity, you become like them. What happens is I get contracted, and ultimately yesterday I was trying to get to a state of giving birth to myself in a different form. I'm a Scorpio, whatever that means, and basically I like a rebirth. I shave my head sometimes, I cut my hair, I change, and cell death can be expedited, it can be increased even, and you can help towards that with the conscious level, which otherwise would be impossible around other people. So that's part of whether conceptual or uh, complete fabrication, I doubt, but ultimately I think it's at least a part of it seeps into the organism and it can be exploited. So that's been part of my journey in this isolation. I've been put through by it, like Ender, to get to a point of state of being where I could actually maybe even conceptualization, even if fake, try to transition that into some form of creation and give that to you or myself and make it work.